How long has this been going on for you and your family?
So the day of the sentencing was 5 years and 2 months to the day.
Wow. It took them 5 years
In 2 months.
and 2 months to get to it.
Yep.
And they were all guilty.
Yep.
Nobody pled not guilty.
They incarcerated the entire time.
I would say
got caught.
Grant, who is the leader, was in prison most of the time, and then the other two were the last 3 years.
So let me set it up. There are 3 suspects in your brother's murder case.
There's actually 4.
4.
The driver it hasn't been sentenced yet,
Stuff.
but I will tell you, I don't want to say I don't care, like I don't care, but these 3 were the ones that I wanted to be there for.
Yeah. So 4 suspects. 3 of them now have been sentenced.
Yeah.
This has been going on 5 years and 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
These are the guys that were responsible for your brother's murder.
Yeah.
What's been going on the last week or so in Virginia?
So the sentencing was on the 15th. Basically what happened is that we gave an impact. So those 3 guys plead out. The driver was caught and he confessed. Then the young shooter, Trayvon Casey, he was Nicholas's age. He's one of the first person that shot at Nicholas. He confessed, and he basically said, "I will tell you what happened if you give me a plea deal."
What was the original? Were they going for the death penalty?
It was debated about, but it was never. He was up for murder 1.
Okay.
And this is a federal case. The FBI was involved.
And Virginia still has it's fed time.
Yeah, it was this was in federal court.
Could he have still gotten the death penalty?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So what happened in since they've been in prison, and as they were dealing with the government actually went to my mom and dad and said, "Do you want us to go for the death penalty?" Mm-hmm. And mom and dad said yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're firm believers in this. It went up to the DA to it's the famous one that just left that was under Trump at the time. It sat on his what was his name?
U.S. Attorney or DA?
The Attorney General.
Attorney General. It was the Attorney General.
Virginia.
It was Barr. Yeah. It actually sat on his desk and he said no. We will not go
For the death penalty.
For the death penalty. It went down to the district attorney, and the district attorney, so that there was the prosecution, and then his boss said, we won't go for life. If they cooperate, we'll do a plea deal. So let me tell the story, and that will make it kind of, when I talk about who's who, it'll
Give
make
a little
sense.
more context, yeah.
Because I learned more, too. I learned exactly what happened. So my parents moved to Roanoke probably when Nicholas was right before he was starting high school. Nicholas is adopted, and Nicholas is black. And my family is obviously extremely white. So my brother was raised in a white home. And when he went to Roanoke, he started high school, he was picked on relentlessly, saying you're not black, you're not tough, you're not. And through them bullying him at the school, the gang, they called themselves the Rolling 30s, and they're a syndicate of the National Crips out of L.A. And Shaun Grant, they called him Dink and Big Homie, went to prison for stomping out his girlfriend, killed her, and he went to jail, got out, and in that prison he learned he was recruited by the Rolling 30s, by the Crips, and to go start this gang in Roanoke where we want you to push drugs.
So I don't want to drive past that. Went to prison for stomping his girlfriend to death. Mm-hmm. Got out.
Yeah.
There's a problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was right now. I think the article said 30 something. 33, something like that.
He's 30. He's in his 30s. So he did it when he was younger. Got out, and so now he is sending people into the high school to recruit
young gang members.
Young gang members. And so Patrick Henry High School, my brother was recruited into the Crips. Nicholas's crime, and Nicholas wasn't perfect. Nicholas was a troubled kid, but he never knew where he fit. Mm-hmm. He was picked on because you're not black enough because you're raised by this white family. Mm-hmm. And my father is a retired Navy. They live on an income, a fixed income. They do okay, but they're not rich. Mm-hmm. And so, but my parents gave him everything. He had the nicest shoes. He had the nicest clothes. But he was bullied. And so he thought that he could find closure and protection in this game. So he was jumped in. And he started, I know that he was game banging. And
explain to what jumped in means.
The gang jumped him. They beat him up.
Kind of like what I did to Bob earlier.
I don't know if you were going into Bob's game or Bob was going to your game. He was beat in.
Yeah.
He was beat in.
Blood in, blood out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nicholas isn't perfect. I've never pretended that he is perfect. But he was like maybe thinking that this life wasn't for him.
Yeah.
And he became friends with a member of the rival Bloods. So Crips are blue, Bloods are red, rivals. He became friends with them. And he wanted out. He was actually jumped again, thinking that was his jump out, that he was done. Mm. And one day they kidnapped him and his girlfriend, and they took him to what they call the trap house. And basically berated him, yelled at him, screamed, like, you need to prove your loyalty. Saying, you need to kill this kid you have become friends with. We got him. We're going to take you to him. He somehow got his girlfriend out. We don't know how that happened, but the girlfriend was able to escape. And they put him in a car and gave him a pistol. And they drove him. It was him and then the driver, Casey. Leversey is his name. And behind, they started driving off to this apartment complex. Dante Mack, he was in his 30s, is in his 30s when this happened. He was blessed in, which means that he was such a thug that he's committed so many crimes that he didn't have to be jumped into the gang. He was blessed in. Mm-hmm. And his protege, Trayvon Casey, who earned the street name Murda, M-U-R-D-A. Mm-hmm. They were behind him. So they go to this apartment complex and they get out and they tell Nicholas, you killed this person standing next to you or you're done. And he does something. Nicholas does something to let him know, the other guy. They could only... DF is his name. I don't know his name. He's in hiding. He does something to signal to him to run.
I don't know if you have the details. The kid that Nicholas was supposed to kill, did they kidnap him or?
I don't know. I don't know how they got him. Okay. I don't know if they got him before. I don't know. But they're all four of them were at this complex. This apartments complex. Yeah. So he runs and he goes into hiding. Nicholas has a gun. Trayvon and Dante both pull guns on Nicholas and start firing. Nicholas runs around the building. And in that process, he is shot. And they believe that he is shot by Dante, the older guy. They go around the corner and Nicholas is on the ground. They've shot him in the back at this point. Trayvon Casey, the kid, runs up to him. Dante grabs him, pulls him back, and while the older man is standing on top of Nicholas, puts two more bullets in his back. Nicholas dies. They're able to call the ambulance. Somebody inside the apartment complex sees this. So that's how we know what happened. And he dies in the emergency room 2 hours later. 3 years go by, and the driver confesses, and the way it kind of works in a chain reaction, the driver confesses. So then Casey, the kid that was Nicholas's age, who wants to shoot Dante, or Shaun Garant, the leader of the gang who stomped out his girlfriend, ordered them to kill. It was either Nicholas does this or you kill Nicholas.
Okay.
He also ordered, go get me some weed. So he has basically ordered the death of both of these kids. So they eventually all confess, but they confess because they don't have any other choice. So the driver confesses, then they arrest Casey, he confesses, and then Mac does, and then Grant does. So it's kind of, so for 5 years, for 3 years, the government says it's an open shut case, we're going to trial, we're going to throw the book at these guys. Well, because they confess and they, I can't say the word, John, but corroborate with the government, they sign plea deals. Grant is the only one who says, I'll do a plea deal with a sentence in place. So they agree to 37 years. The other two just doesn't, they said, well, that will be determined later. So we were told that there's not going to be a trial. There's just a sentencing. And we have to go and basically give an impact statement. Then it's up to the judge to accept a plea deal or not. So what would happen if he'd said that he's not going to apply the plea deal, if he's not going to accept it for Grant would have gone to trial. We were told that the judge is appointed by Obama. It's liberal. So we get there, and those three men and their lawyers walk in, and they're in chains. And I didn't know that's the first time I've seen them. And at one point we had a break, and my older sister, I went to go use the bathroom. She goes, no, you stand there. She said, don't you ever turn your back on them. Because the last lead kid to turn their back on them died. Mm-hmm. You don't turn your back. Mm-hmm. So the three of us would stand there when they walked in and out. We would not turn our backs on them. Mm. So for the first 6 hours of trial, my dad speaks first. He speaks for an hour.
6 hours.
Yeah, my mom does. My nephew and my older sister. I was the last one to speak. I was asked to read a statement from one of Nicholas's friends who was too scared to speak at the trial, and they're scared because the Rolling 30s are still there,
and they're violent,
and they're extremely violent. So I read I read his statement. I read Ian's statement because Ian wasn't able to come, and I read mine. And this is basically what I said, is that I want to ask the questions why. And I said, this is a permanent crime, and it deserves a permanent sentence. Mm-hmm. And I said, shame. I said, the government is taking the easy way out. And I called all three of those men cowards. I said, I don't know what's more cowardly, to order the death of a boy, or to shoot a kid in the back, or to stand over him and kill him. I don't know what is more cowardly. And I looked those men in his eyes when I called them cowards. But here's what also I did. I shared the gospel with them.
In court.
I said, I can't forgive y'all. I'm not strong enough to forgive you. My parents, and this struck me to my core, but both my mom and my dad said, we forgive you. We're mad as hell, but we forgive. And I said, I can't.
I'm not there yet.
I'm not there yet. But here's what I said. I said, but if you seek Christ out, he is faithful and just to forgive you. And just as my brother was adopted, you will become adopted sons of the King. Mm. And I said, instead of you being my enemy, you then become my brothers. If you find Christ. I said, I'm going to quit praying for forgiveness, and I'm going to pray for your salvation.